From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Coco. Welcome to another edition of the Open Mic Show, live today, July 25th. But the reason I'm thinking of August, this is the last day to take August birthdays and anniversary wishes so that you can win a free 7-inch cake from Albie D's second-generation Italian bakery. Just call in your birthday and anniversary wishes for August, and we'll do the drawing tonight at 8:15. Many thanks to Chris Porter, producing in Master Control. Master Control is busier than a regular radio station would be, and we make Chris do 5 things at once. He answers the phone, puts on the video, takes care of the audio, makes sure that we run commercials and breaks when we're supposed to. Chris, how do you do it? I don't know. Anyway. So this is the Open Mic Show for the next 2 hours, 6:30 to 8:30. You can listen and watch at whav.tv on your computer or smartphone, and on Haverhill Community Television HC Media Channel 22 Comcast in Haverhill. But also a high-definition video stream at WHAV's Facebook page. Simply go to facebook.com, type in WHAV, right on the top there, and it's high-definition video. So you might enjoy that. And Facebook has improved on it somewhat. They used to cut us off after 90 minutes. I think Chris discovered last week that the entire 2 hours did air over Facebook, so you might like that. Then, of course, you can listen to WHAV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at whav.net on your computer or smartphone. Low-power AM radio 1640 in Haverhill, and closer than ever, I know I keep saying that, but, we are getting closer, FM 97.9. There was an article in WHAV's Wavelengths newsletter. If you don't get that, become a member at whav.net. But you can also read the website, and it gives an interesting story about Tilton Tower, the original John Tilton's Tower that was demolished to make way for WHAV's tower in 1947. If we have time, I know I say that every week, if we have time, we'll discuss a little bit of WHAV's history on Silver Hill, where WHAV is returning as we speak. New transmitter, new antenna, all kinds of great things going on there. You can also listen to WHAV on cable television. Andover Channel 8, Haverhill Channel 99 once in a while, that's the education channel. Methuen Channels 8 and 22 on Comcast, Channel 32 on Verizon Fios. Plasto Channels 17 and 23, Sandown Channel 17, and coming soon, we understand, Atkinson, New Hampshire Public Access will be the latest addition to WHAV's list of cable television affiliates. Still don't think you have enough choices? Well, get your children and grandchildren in the room, because chances are they already have these other devices. WHAV is heard also on Apple TV. Choose the radio button, go to Golden Oldies, and alphabetically go to WHAV. You can also use the TuneIn app on your smartphone or your television. Many of the newer smart TVs like Samsung and Panasonic allow you to put applications on your television. One of them is TuneIn. Works very well. You get to see the album art when we're playing music, so you see the covers of the albums. There used to be records in those albums, but do you know what a record is? It's a just asking Chris, because it's a piece of plastic, usually 12 inches, but there were smaller ones like 10 inches for 78s and 7 inches for 45s. Okay, anyone under 45 probably doesn't know what I'm talking about. I think Chris learned about records in a history class or something. All right. So, but of course, your smartphone or your television, also iTunes Radio. So quite a bit there. All right. You've heard about the birthday cake. Very simple. I think some of you just get intimidated by this, and I don't understand why. All you have to do is dial the radio station, 978-374-1900. Again, 978-374-1900. Here's the step-by-step. Chris picks up the call. He's our producer in Master Control, and he gets your name or the recipient's name and address so that if the recipient wins, we can mail the letter. And then you simply come on the air and say, I want to wish happy birthday to Gertrude, or I want to wish happy anniversary to Mark and Gertrude, or whatever. And you're entered into the contest. If you want to talk to me about something else, you're certainly welcome to. That's why this is the open mic show. So that's all there is to that. We'll talk about a few more prizes in a minute, but I want to tell you about our guests coming up after the news at 7 o'clock. We're very, very pleased, and I have very selfish reasons for it. The Haverhill Cultural Council, as represented by Robin Valentino and Alison Colby-Campbell, are going to be right here in the studio. I think Letriah Masters is going to be here too, but I'm not sure she's planning on being on the air, but we'll look into that possibility. We've squeezed more into this phone booth size studio before, so that's certainly possible. But the reason why I'm personally excited, and this is why it's selfish, is that WHAV has received funding as well from the Haverhill Cultural Council. As a matter of fact, Master Control, where Chris is now, the new board that's in there, and perhaps that microphone came from a Haverhill Cultural Council grant when that was modernized. And soon it will help equip this studio, the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, so that it will work as also an emergency studio when WHAV FM goes on the air. So live programs can come from either studio, music from either studio, that kind of thing. All right, but we're going to, we have lots of photographs. I'm not sure how we're going to fit all these in, but for our television viewers, it should be quite a treat to learn more about the Haverhill Cultural Council, learn about the new online application process, which is certainly going to be easier for some people. I'm sure they'll still take paper, but we'll learn about that too. So that's coming up after 7:05 here on the Open Mic Show. Alison Colby-Campbell and Robin Valentino, perhaps Letriah Masters, and we'll learn more about that. Now, there are other prizes that we like to give away, and here's one, and this is really perfect for this time of year. You can visit Whittier Birthplace in Haverhill, or the Whittier Home Museum in Amesbury. And actually, that's not an or, that's an and. You can go to either of these places or both of these places with this single pass, free pass, to both homes that John Greenleaf Whittier lived in. Now, I hope by now you know who John Greenleaf Whittier is. He's one of Haverhill's favorite sons, a famous poet. Absolutely famous poet. He was a state legislator, but most importantly, he was one of the founders of the Republican Party, and that's when that was the Liberal Party opposing slavery. Yes, he was an abolitionist, very important to not only our local history, but national and world history as well. So if you can answer this simple trivia question, you can get a free pass to Whittier Birthplace. We call this the What Do You Know? Chris's cue. What do you know? Like, what do you know? What do you know? All right, two-part question. We started this last week. I don't believe we had any correct answers. When did John Greenleaf Whittier first attend Haverhill Academy? Okay, that was the high school of its day. Maybe that's a clue. When did John Greenleaf Whittier first attend Haverhill Academy? And, part two, what group uses that building today? Really relatively easy if you think about it. I bet you probably even know the second half right away. So, when did John Greenleaf Whittier first attend Haverhill Academy? What group uses that building today? You can win a free pass not only to Whittier Birthplace in Haverhill, but the Whittier Home Museum in Amesbury. Whittier was born in Haverhill in 1807, and by 1836, his father passed away, and he decided that he and his family, after all, he was becoming a famous writer, didn't want to be a farmer. He moved to Amesbury, where he was closer to the Quaker Friends Meeting House. And I believe we also have this one here is fun. You could win a $10 gift certificate to use at Kimball Tavern Antiques. Chris will even show our television viewers a photograph of Kimball Tavern Antiques. He hates when I do that to him. But Kimball Tavern, the birthplace of Bradford College, more than 200 years ago. A beautiful building, well maintained by the Wood family. They've done a wonderful job, and what an appropriate place for an antique store. In any event, to get a $10 gift certificate, same as cash, if it's cost less than $10, it's free. All you have to do is answer this question. Who ran the stamp shop? Stamp like postage stamp shop inside Boris Migliori's bicycle shop. Now, not recently, not when H.R. Sawyer Schwinn Bicyclery moved to Ginty Boulevard, I don't think. Probably this goes back to the Fleet Street days before urban renewal. Again, if you have a city directory or, you have some clues, I bet you if you call your neighbors, they would know. Who ran the stamp shop inside Boris Migliori's H.R. Sawyer Schwinn Bicyclery? Bicyclery is a difficult word, and the person who used to say it with such class was the late Edwin V. Johnson, for whom this room is named. And he, of course, any one of you who had Mr. Johnson in school, and I think many of you did, I mean, who can say Sawyer Schwinn Bicyclery? Well, all right, so he did. Chris is a radio announcer. He's the man with 5 radio jobs, some of them unpaid, like this one. Can you say bicyclery? Okay, he said it. Put it on your microphone. Okay, this is a test. If Chris can say bicyclery, he gets to keep his job.
Bicyclery?
Bicyclery, good. A lot of people have trouble with that. I have to admit that 35, 40 years ago when I first worked at HAV and we had an ad and we used to read them off pieces of paper. Some were recorded, but a lot of them alive. And to read H.R. Sawyer Schwinn Bicyclery, sometimes you could just turn red and into a deep sweat. Having to say that word. All right, everyone practice it, bicyclery. All right, so you could win a $10 gift certificate, same as cash, to Kimball Tavern Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets, if you can answer that question. Who ran the stamp shop inside Boris Migliori's bike shop? All right, so then we have prizes. We have guests coming. You know how to watch and listen, but do you know how to contact us? All right, if you're shy, you can't win a prize this way, but if you have a tip, a news item, or something you want me to know about, you can also, besides calling, you can use the message board at whav.tv, again on your computer or smartphone. Right below the TV picture you see there is a place where you can enter comments. And we do get a few snarky ones in there from a particular person in Florida. But it's all in good fun. And, of course, you can also email me directly, tcoco, T-C-O-C-O, at whav.net. Now, try to remember to check those once in a while. All right, I hear the phones ringing. Probably we'll go to a break before we take the calls. But you answering that, Chris? Okay. I hear it. He's probably wanting me to do the break because I'm always late. Well, quite a bit has happened since we last met on this program. Former Haverhill City Councilor Robert Bob Scatamaccia pleaded guilty last Tuesday, to charges that he spent the money people used to prepay funerals when he owned a funeral home. This case really didn't go to trial because of the plea, but I think many of us are wondering what really might have happened. I guess don't think of Bob as someone who would steal. I don't know if it's one of those things where the bills had to be paid. Well, I'll take this and I'll pay it back. I don't know. It certainly came as a surprise to see Bob plead guilty. Now, WHAV exclusively has a story today. If you've missed it, the headline is Scatamaccia claims city schools fired him, wants back pay. Yes, he was transportation supervisor and for Haverhill Public Schools for about 4 months. And at the time, the public was told he resigned, although when we went back and looked at and listened to his quotations from that time, that's not what he was saying. And others, I think, maybe were trying to be protective or helpful. So the whole story is at WHAV.net. Okay, we're going to go to a brief break. This hour, we're going to hear about today in Massachusetts history. Then we'll return with your telephone calls.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
For live and local talk, listen to The Open Mic Show, Monday nights. You can also see the program at whav.tv. WHAV, the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
Catch the wave!
The most trusted man in America, news anchor Walter Cronkite, once said, "It is absolutely essential in a democracy to have competition in the media, a lot of competition." That sentiment is one of the driving forces behind WHAV's expanded local news effort. This is News Director Dana Esmel inviting you to listen to my hourly weekday newscasts right here on WHAV. You'll also find the area's most comprehensive local news reporting at WHAV.net on your computer or smartphone. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
And that's the way it is.
Today is July 18th. On this day in 1980, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis and Ernest Hemingway's son, Patrick, dedicated the Hemingway Room at the recently opened John F. Kennedy Library and Museum in Boston. The Nobel Prize-winning author and the 35th president never met, but they admired each other greatly. After their deaths, their widows agreed that the Presidential Library would be a fitting repository for Hemingway's collection. A special room was created to house not only his personal papers, memorabilia, photographs, and scrapbooks, but carved African statues and hunting trophies as well. The rest of the building is devoted to the memory of the slain president and to all those who through the art of politics seek a new and better world. For more about this and other Mass Moments, go online to massmoments.org. Brought to you by the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. I'm your host, Tim Coco. Just a reminder, coming up after the news, we're going to learn a lot more about the Haverhill Cultural Council, and really, you should care, because many of the groups that you care about, maybe all of the groups you care about, receive part of their funding through the generosity of the Haverhill Cultural Council, and WHAV is among those. So we'll learn more about that when Alison, Colby-Campbell, and Robin Valentino join us. Okay, let's go to the telephones. You are on the open mic.
Bicyclery.
You can say bicyclery, and I can't even say it. Bicyclery.
Yeah, bicyclery.
Do you remember Ed Johnson saying that? I mean, it was the classiest. It made it sound like they were precious diamonds when he said it.
That's right. He did have that gift.
He did.
The bicyclery. But, I'll tell you, I remember Boris, when he would answer the phone, he'd say, Sawyer's Bike Shop.
Oh, so he maybe he couldn't pronounce it himself.
Well, I don't think that he coined that particular title.
No, he didn't. He bought the business.
Built. Huh?
I think he bought the business right after World War II in 1945.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Because it sounds like H.R. Sawyer was the owner, and he kept that name amazingly.
Yep. He was, I think he did that out of respect.
Well, he was a respectful guy, wasn't he?
He was indeed. And I think, I'm not sure about that stamp business, but I wonder if it was in the shop when it was on Bailey Street.
Oh, so even before.
Remember that? Bailey Street?
I do remember, but you know what? Now, I'm not actually old enough to go back further than that, but I do go back to Bailey Street. But do you, here's a trivia question. I'll send you baseball cards if you get it. Okay, prior to Bailey Street, what two streets were there?
Pleasant Street? Spring Street?
As Pleasant is right, there's one more. Roughly on the same path.
Welcome, David.
Nope.
Henry.
Those are all in the area, you're right, but right exactly where the southern border of Bailey Boulevard is. Before that, it was Bailey Street because it wasn't wider. But before that, and actually not that long ago, and only really just before I was born, I believe, those were two other streets that got straightened into one. And you've got one of them, Pleasant Street. Should I give you the answer?
Pecker, Howe.
I need that Jeopardy
Henry,
music.
David? No.
Thoreau, yes. I believe it was Oak Street.
Oh, really?
Oak and Pleasant became Bailey. And the reason they were separate streets is there was this kind of jog in the middle. Now, that jog might have included Henry Street. But it got straightened at some point and named for, do you know who Bailey was?
No, actually, I don't. They didn't change the name of that till the 1950s, I believe.
That's right. It was, I believe, it's named for, I don't know if it's Harry, because I'm maybe thinking of a movie now, but Mr. Bailey, who was the longtime leader of the Haverhill Boys Club.
Oh, okay.
And it's funny, if you look at old maps, and when the maps get so old, they actually list the names of the homeowner on the map.
They do, yeah.
And there was a Bailey right in that area, so I wonder if it was the same family.
Maybe so.
All right, so there's some useless trivia that people can share, but you, I thought I would tease you a little bit because I would say that's before you were born too. I don't know if it was the late 40s or early 50s.
Well, I don't know either. I heard it was the 50s, and all my life it was Bailey Street, and I didn't even know about Pleasant Street. Except they talked about changing the name of Pecker Street.
Yeah, actually, and I've heard that story. And have you heard it? Exactly what happened that night at City Council?
I don't know exactly what happened that night at City Council.
I got this from one of the old-timers years ago, and I don't know if it was Dr. Bauer or maybe Ted Pelosi, but I don't know if the city council was being jokingly cruel. I know that those words don't seem to go together, but jokingly cruel, because the neighbors had an item on the agenda that they wished to discuss the renaming of Pecker Street. And they came and sat in the chairs in the council chambers, and then their item was called, and they were asked to present their petition, and so one or several councilors. So what is it about the name Pecker that you don't like? And nobody would answer. They were all red-faced.
Yeah, too embarrassed to answer that.
So
who was it named after?
That's a good question. Of course, now David Godswood's standing by with pen and paper.
Yeah, he must know.
Now he hates you now, and he hates me now. Yeah. Our open mic show historian David Godswood now has a new assignment. He might have actually told me in the past. I am getting older, but anyway, so Pecker Street still exists, and of course it was split in half by urban renewal. And of course, it once crossed Bailey Street. It doesn't cross Bailey Boulevard because of the retaining wall. And the end of it near Merrimack Street on the side of Barrett Specialty Foods, really, it's right now sort of a pedestrian walkway that nobody walks on. But that's well, I think it might have been intended to get to the top of the garage, but for whatever reason, it was never used for that. So Pecker Street still exists on both sides, north and south of Bailey Boulevard. How did we get into that anyway?
He was a cab driver.
What's that?
I was talking to a cab driver one time, this is several years ago, and he was asking about Howe Street. Because you got a House Street up there, and you got a House Street down below, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. Other streets that got divided when 495 went through, got directional names added. So there was Lowell Avenue and West Lowell Avenue after they split it. We don't have a North Howe Street and a South Howe Street. Right. Well, I guess maybe there is a South Howe in Bradford. That's a good... because of the merger of the two communities, maybe that happened.
Yeah, maybe so.
Chris... I just hear ringing somewhere, but it could be in my ears. Is there another call?
Well, we'll see a doctor about that.
Yes.
Hey, tomorrow is a very important birthday or anniversary or whatever you want to call it.
Which one?
It's the 26th anniversary of the passing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA.
Hey, now that's appropriate. So it's the Americans with Disabilities Act, and of course, a long-time question, and I don't know if Dave, our safety officer, was listening last week, but the handicapped parking and all the rules associated with it that came with the Americans with Disabilities Act, parking at the Haverhill Stadium is now marked, and separately, parking at the Riverside Fields. What are those called? Just Riverside Park? They also have designated handicap spaces.
Have you gone down there? Have you seen it?
Actually, I haven't. Yeah, is there any reason you think that they might not?
Well, no, I just don't know. I mean, nobody's talked about the signage. Is that a word? Signage?
It is a word, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, I don't know, but maybe we can revisit that. I've got to try to squeeze in one more call. Do you have any other? Do you have any other birthday wishes?
I'll be listening.
All right. Thanks so much.
Have a good evening.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Is this on my side, Chris?
Hey, now that's appropriate.
You're on the open mic show.
The Americans with Disabilities Act.
I can hear I can hear myself. So, and I hear a phone ringing over there. So that tells me that maybe it's not actually here. All right. If you're calling in a birthday wish, I'm going to ask you to hold that until after the news, and I'm sure our guests won't mind, especially if they're the birthday recipients. Who knows? You can do that. So the person who's trying to call in a birthday wish, just call back after the news. We're going to take a break now for local news, national news, and local weather. Just turned 7 o'clock here. See, Chris, I'm with it this time. All right, we'll be back in just a minute.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:01.
WHAV LP Haverhill. WHAV is a nonprofit community service of Public Media of New England, Incorporated.
Here's what's happening in local news. The Haverhill City Council is asked to order a repair or demolition of a vacant dwelling twice damaged by fire in less than 2 years in the Mount Washington neighborhood. Haverhill Building Inspector Richard Osborne requests the council issue a 30-day demolition rehabilitation order for a 2.5-story wood frame structure at 425 Washington Street. A public hearing will be scheduled September 13 during Tuesday's council meeting, according to agenda materials. A June 28 structural survey report from the Haverhill Fire Department cites damage from fires on October 9, 2014, and most recently May 15, have created, according to the order, quote, a nuisance to the neighborhood and is dangerous, end quote. The fire in 2014 damaged 2 upper floors and roof in, quote, one area of the building, and it appeared, quote, to be secure during a November 2015 survey. The recent fire occurred in the basement, quote, from an unknown cause, and the building condition, quote, has fallen into further disrepair. Quote, it was determined that someone is gaining access to the building without the knowledge of the owner, reads the report from then Deputy Fire Chief William F. LaLiberty, City Engineer John H. Pettis III, and, quote, disinterested party, David W. Huey. Quote, this building should be demolished due to the lack of maintenance, the unwillingness of the owner to repair in order to render the building habitable, and the lack of being accountable of who is accessing the building, end quote. The Haverhill City Council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in Theodore A. Pelosi Jr. Council Chambers at Haverhill City Hall. There is more at whav.net. A 60-year-old man convicted more than 2 decades ago of raping a Haverhill child is in custody after failing to register as a sex offender. Reggie C. Ellenwood was arrested Friday night at Boston's Pine Street Inn, a homeless shelter, after Massachusetts State Police added him earlier that day to its, quote, most wanted sex offenders list. Ellenwood was convicted in 1992 in Essex County Superior Court of 8 counts of rape of a child and 6 counts of indecent assault and battery involving 2 preteen girls in Haverhill. An investigation at the time revealed Ellenwood kept his victims from talking by claiming to have murdered another young girl he assaulted, state police said. He also has been previously convicted in Haverhill District Court on assault with a dangerous weapon, a rifle, and 2 counts of accosting. Ellenwood also has ties to Lawrence, Lynn, and Boston. State Police Violent Fugitive Apprehension Section had listed Ellenwood and 5 others on its most wanted list Friday and asked for the public's help in finding the fugitives. 2 people arrested separately Friday by Haverhill police face unrelated theft charges in Haverhill District Court. William Ferrier, 63, of North Andover, was arrested at 11:48 a.m. Friday at 1151 Broadway. He was charged with felony breaking and entering in the daytime and larceny over $250. Garrett Quinlan, 30, of Dracut, was arrested at 4:32 p.m. Friday at Hampton Inn, Haverhill, 106 Bank Road. He was charged with larceny from a person. In other police news, 2 area men in separate police investigations face assault and other charges following their arrests in Haverhill Friday evening. John Babineau, 35, of 19 6th Avenue, Haverhill, was arrested at 5:13 p.m. Friday on 5th Avenue. He was charged with assault and battery, witness intimidation, and threat to commit a crime. Daniel McGovern, 22, of West Newbury, was arrested at 10:07 p.m. Friday on Bailey Boulevard. He was charged with assault and battery, malicious damage to a motor vehicle, and disorderly conduct. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmel.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Harry Horton. At least 19 people are dead and dozens more injured after a knife attack at a facility for disabled people just outside of Tokyo in Japan. The attack began in the early hours of Tuesday morning local time A man in his 20s was later arrested after turning himself in at a local police station. The so-called Islamic State has claimed responsibility for a suicide bomb attack in the town of Ansbach, Germany, that injured at least 15 people. It's the second time in a week the group has claimed an attack in the country. Ira Spitzer reports from Berlin.
ISIS released the statement through the Amaq news agency, which is closely affiliated with the group. It came after German officials discovered extremist videos on the attacker's cell phone and computer, as well as a pledge of allegiance to the ISIS leader. The attacker was a 27-year-old refugee from Syria who faced deportation to Bulgaria. He had tried to kill himself at least 2 times and had received psychological treatment. After being denied entry to a music festival, he blew himself up outside the venue, wounding 15 people, 3 of them seriously. Ira Spitzer, Berlin.
In the United States, uproar has broken out on the floor of the Democratic Convention in Philadelphia, where supporters of Bernie Sanders are booing every single mention of Hillary Clinton's name. The convention got underway just 24 hours after a huge leak of Democratic Party emails. They showed that party leaders had worked behind the scenes to engineer Senator Sanders' defeat in the primary elections earlier this year. Our US correspondent Simon Marks is at the convention in Philadelphia.
There is the real possibility now that this convention is spinning out of control of Hillary Clinton and her campaign managers. Every time her name is invoked on the podium by a speaker, Bernie Sanders supporters erupt with boos and chants of his name, not hers. The next few hours are going to prove to be a real test of whether Bernie Sanders can control his supporters and persuade them to be as magnanimous as he has been in endorsing Hillary Clinton for the presidency. Everything that we've seen on the floor of this convention so far suggests that they won't be.
Earlier in the day, Senator Sanders told his supporters the resignation of Debbie Wasserman Schultz as the head of the DNC meant that there was possibility for real change within the party.
Her resignation opens up the possibility of new leadership at the top of the Democratic Party that will stand with working people and that will open the doors of the party to those people who want real change.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with wave weather. Any scattered showers or locally heavy thunderstorms ending through the evening and night. It'll become partly cloudy, low temperatures 60s to near 70. Mostly sunny skies, just moderately humid on Tuesday. Lower 90s, fair at night, upper 60s to near 70 again. And sunshine 80s to low 90s on Wednesday. This is Gary Best. Your next wave weather is coming up in 30 minutes.
Tom Bergeron wants your help. He's the honorary chairperson of WHAV's Make Waves campaign to bring local news to FM radio. The sooner you contribute at WHAV.net, the sooner WHAV signs on at 97.9 FM. Just look for Tom's picture. Stay informed each day with local news, coupled with FSN's worldwide coverage. WHAV LP Haverhill, the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. Chris, if you want to adjust the camera, because I think we've only got 2 of us in here now, just move it that way. This is high tech. We have a pan and tilt camera to be funded by the Haverhill Cultural Council, and that is, we'll order that as soon as we know we have our FM on the air. All right, why don't you maybe move it back? Well, can you turn the tripod? This is a live radio that's on television, so you get to see all of this. Okay. Yeah, no, okay, that way more than, no. Okay, we're going to make do. We're going to make do. All right.
It's over next to Alison, yeah. Yeah, we'll all get cozy.
All right, so we're fine. They don't have to see me. That's fine. Okay, so we'll just start to my immediate left. Alison Colby-Campbell. All right, 2 decades here in the Merrimack Valley, 9 years in Haverhill, in the Ward Hill, Bradford area. So you are close to the studio.
I'm very close to the studio. This is a great commute.
Oh, good. She's the creator of the Heartbeat of Haverhill. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's the most positive, uplifting news about your community that you'll ever find. We run all that bad news and scandals and crime and stuff like that. Occasionally something positive. But if you want the positive news only, check out the Heartbeat of Haverhill. What's the web address for?
The Heartbeat of Haverhill.
.com?
If they just Google that, they will find either that or the Facebook page. So one will lead to the other.
Well, speaking of Facebook, not to put you, not to worry either of you, but you're used to publicity, right? We have 350 people on Facebook alone watching this program. Never mind what else we may be getting over Channel 22 or some of our other feeds. Anyway. Alison became a part of the Haverhill Cultural Council after a discussion with the mayor made her realize that her personal goal of showcasing the best of Haverhill through the Heartbeat of Haverhill's Good News Only format could be augmented by helping make great things happen.
Absolutely.
Great idea. And through Haverhill Cultural Council grants, rather than just reporting on them. She also can be found walking the trails and events of Haverhill, taking pictures. I was the beneficiary of one of those last month. Thank you.
You were.
Thank you very much. And talking to strangers. Wow. And some people, that might not be a good attribute, but
You'd be amazed what you can learn, and it's a lot of good things. Everyone's got a story to tell.
She and her husband, Jonathan, take full advantage of Haverhill's vibrant local shopping and dining scene. Well, she's even promotional in her biography about Haverhill. She's an animal advocate, giant rabbit companion. I have to find out what a giant rabbit companion is.
We have 2 large rabbits, Flemish giants as they're called, and they weigh about 14 pounds each.
Oh, my. Bigger than my dog.
And they're tough, too.
And volunteer guinea pig foster parent.
You got it.
Oh, boy. We're going to have to do a live on-site interview at some point to learn more about that. And then Robin Valentino, I understand you're one of the newest members of the Haverhill Cultural Council. Thank you.
Yes.
And, over on the other side, we have Letriah Masters as a co-chair of the Haverhill Cultural Council. Is that?
She's a chair.
Just the chair. Chair. Okay, good. And if she wants to chime in, Chris will share her microphone, his microphone, if you want. But anyway, Robin has been a Merrimack Valley resident for more than 30 years now. Seems impossible.
Thank you.
Seems impossible. Also in the Bradford neighborhood for 7 years, became involved with the Cultural Council because her entire life has evolved around the arts, beginning with her late grandfather, Earl Dash, former editor-in-chief of New York's fashion newspaper, Women's Wear Daily. Wow, that's exciting. We'll have to find out more about that at some point. Music inspiration through school, the love you have for creative vision. For more than 23 years, you've worked with business owners, helping them grow their business through creative marketing, and you like to mentor people. That's wonderful. And so you have a marketing and journalism background. By the way, there are volunteer opportunities at WHAV News. Not to put you on the spot.
Good to know.
All of these attributes contribute toward the appreciation she has for the grantors, and most importantly, allowing for inspiring culture to our city, which brings added value, tourism, future growth from generation to generation. Well, very admirable. Thank you. Wonderful to have you both here.
Thank you.
Okay, we will take a break in a couple of minutes, but so let's do some of the preliminaries first. And you know what? I'm going to, I know more about the Cultural Council because it's a wonderful organization, originally funded by the lottery tickets that you buy. Now the legislature takes most of that money for other things. Is that right?
We're not talking politics today.
if they had continued on the original funding, I think it'd have like $1 billion to give away. But those lottery sales have skyrocketed since that started. But since I know too much, I'm going to ask the dumb questions so that we can learn more. What is the Haverhill Cultural Council? And either one of you can take that.
I'll talk about that a little bit. What the Haverhill Cultural Council is a group that provides the impetus and funding for people to develop new cultural activities to happen within our community. We've been working recently on coming up with a tagline for the HCC, and what we've come up with is enriching Haverhill one grant at a time. And that pretty much puts it in a nutshell.
It really does, actually.
Right. So you think we did a good job?
No, I think so.
Right. And what we do is, for example, we are all over the place, and you don't really even know that when you see it, but a lot of the events you see around town are done by us. We are part of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, who gives us our funding for the most part, and they have about 5,000 different local councils that they support, and we are one of them. And I think they had was it like $2 million or something that they distribute throughout a year, and we get a portion of that we can help fund community cultural activities. I think one of the most interesting things about this is that culture is such a broad word. When I looked it up and I was trying to figure out, how exactly do you itemize everything that culture, is made up of? And there's history, there's dining, there's agriculture, everything that happens in everyday life that is pertinent to a certain community. And every time I read one of the definitions, they always had in it the word etc. And so that's why it's such a broad thing, whether you're trying to get a tractor pull or support historical things or music or arts, which is what most people understand us to be.
Sure, okay, it makes sense. And actually, Chris, if you could help us before we take the break, let's start. There's many photographs. These are all by you, right, Alison?
Yes.
All right, many photographs here. Because of the delay, it'll take you a second to see them. But let's run one at a time. Give us enough time, Chris, to see each one, and then we'll ask what this is about. And they may not be in any particular order, so we're going to surprise you with this and see how they go.
It's going to be a little test.
All right, so are they there yet? Okay, so it's just us. Okay, let's see. I think one of them looks familiar there.
Our newest members.
The newest members. So, and this would be?
This is Robin Valentino right here,
right.
And Christopher Smith.
Christopher Smith. Okay, let's just keep moving through them, Chris. Just make sure we have enough time to see them. So, but this was taken at the Citizen Center?
Yes, it was. We meet at 10 Welcome Street on a monthly basis. It's usually the third Wednesday at 6:30, third Wednesday of the month.
All right, and
This is our new officer group, and it's not so new. Many of us are re-upping on our same positions, but that's Ruby
Lyons. Two of you look familiar.
And there's Letriah in the center, and then I'm on the right, and Letriah is the chair, and Ruby is the treasurer, and I'm the secretary.
Okay, let's keep going, Chris. We'll do a few before we go to break. And radio was supposed to keep talking so there's no dead air. So this is the problem with having a long delay.
That was wild print night on the outfits. There we go. And this was part of the Inside Out program. We had several tents up, and we had a tent here which was for performing artists, and we gave everybody an open mic night, kind of like your show, and we had singers, and we had people that actually
Inside Out was the photographs, the large photographs
Right.
people saw around town of different people.
Mm-hmm. Were you photographing that?
I hid. It's bad enough to be on this camera, never mind that, but no, it's a great thing. And this looks like Winnikinny Castle. What's happening here?
It is Winnikinny Castle. That is Steve Lyons' Rock Out Cookout from a couple of years back.
And actually, that's coming up again soon. Go to whav.net if you want to learn more about that event. Let's keep moving along, Chris. He probably already has, but we get to see it about 8 seconds after the public does, oddly. All right, this looks
a little difficult for people to see. This was a collage that I made of several of the events that we've had in the past years, and it's just hard to see, so a lot of happy people doing creative and cultural things is what you're seeing.
Okay, those of you looking at it on HD on Facebook or whav.tv, you'll see it a little bit clearer. Unfortunately, Comcast here is standard definition. Okay, what do we have here?
that is our town clerk, Linda Catullus.
You know, I actually recognized, I could tell from the haircut and the edge of the glasses, actually. This could have been a great trivia question. We could have given away baseball cards or something.
That would have been awesome. Big prizes. Okay, well, what if everyone could tell you what she is painting there?
Well, it looks like some kind of a fish, right?
It is. What is Haverhill's most favorite fish?
Oh, okay. Is this the sturgeon?
It is.
Well, what do you know about that? And here we are at Shoeworkers Plaza. I hope everyone knows where that is. That's at the MVRTA garage. Is that right?
It is.
And who are we seeing here?
This is one of the actual shoe workers that we had at the event. He came and spoke when they did the opening here, and I am totally drawing a blank on his name.
All right, you actually may have given it to me, but I don't have it in front of me. But again, many of the things that are funded. Would you?
But what I can tell you about that is that the Haverhill Historical Commission dedicated the new Shoe Workers Memorial Plaza, and the public was invited to celebrate generations of men and women that worked in the shoe industry. And a bronze plaque honoring the city's shoe workers was unveiled across from the commuter rail station. And then money for the framing of the historical shoe worker photos and the bronze plaque comes from private donations in the Haverhill Cultural Council.
Isn't that wonderful? See, the Haverhill Cultural Council is everywhere in Haverhill. And this may be a good time to take a brief break. We're going to hear Community Spotlight, and then we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show and our guests, Robin Valentino and Alison Colby-Campbell from the Haverhill Cultural Council.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
For more in-depth coverage of the news, visit WHAV's website at whav.net.
Catch the wave!
On air or online, WHAV serves you. All day long, keep up to date with tenacious but objective local reporting from the only Haverhill-based news source. Find out about civic and charitable events on Community Spotlight every quarter hour, and better prepare with wave weather heard every 30 minutes. For talk, there's Tom Hartman weekdays at noon, the Open Mic Show every Monday night, and David Packman Tuesday through Friday nights. And there's more. Hear classic comedy and drama 7 nights a week at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Finally, a unique blend of soft gold music radiates day and night. Only local radio can bring you this combination of music, news, and features, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight.
The Haverhill Council on Aging is offering a trip to Newport, Rhode Island for a lobster fest at the Newport Playhouse on Tuesday, August 9th. This trip includes motor coach transportation, lobster buffet, comedy production titled Flamenco Court, dessert buffet, and a cabaret with the actors. Tickets are $97 per person. For more information, contact Kathy Bresnahan or Rita LaBella at 978-374-2390. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Diane Carr.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And 24 minutes past the hour, 25 now, past the hour on the Open Mic Show. If you're just joining us, we are visiting with Robin Valentino and Alison Colby-Campbell of the Haverhill Cultural Council. All right, we'll scroll through some photos, but before we go back to those, let's just follow up on a couple of things. Some of you are probably wondering, well, I do this particular thing for the community. Maybe I could get funded as well. So what types of programs are eligible for grants?
It's very broad. Again, as we said before, there's history programs. I spoke to someone earlier this year who is helping clean up Hilldale Cemetery, and I said to them, you would be a perfect person to apply for a grant. But I want to bring something up, Tim, because you are the most thorough grant applicant. Always, you always have everything right in a row, and I think that that's something that I think it speaks to the fact that it is fairly easy to apply. This year, we will be having applications online. And
I'd like to know more about that. So they'll be able. Is that already available?
September 1st.
September 1st. So if you're in front of your computer, less copying and that kind of thing.
Right.
Because I believe at one point we had to make 14 copies for each member.
Sorry.
That's how thorough I. Well, you don't take a chance. I mean, this can be pretty competitive. So you've often had more requests, probably all the time, have more requests than you could possibly grant.
Oh, we certainly do, and we look at the value to the community for each grant that comes in, and is it going to support a large audience in comparison to the request to the amount of money that they're looking for. We're looking at things that are varied. We don't want to have all concerts, obviously. We want history, robotics, anything like that. Those are
sciences and
right, and agriculture, and a wide variety of opportunities for people in Haverhill. And you could have a smaller event. You just have to modify the amount that you're asking for so that it makes sense.
Makes sense. So we don't do 3,000 for a group of 5
right.
To look at a painting. Okay.
Have your friends over.
Have your friends over. Okay, but you mentioned the Experimental Film Festival. That's again also happening about now, isn't it?
It was last weekend. It was fabulous, by the way.
Well, actually, you had some information on the Experimental Film Festival with the Smiths. Is that right?
What I thought was very interesting about the Experimental Film Festival is they are in their 4th year. It is the first experimental film festival in New England, and they came to Haverhill. They welcome abstract, riveting, beautiful, rugged, emotional, bold film ideas. It was a 3-day experimental film. They took over the Downtown River Arts District with an entirely free festival to expose experimental film to the community.
There is a small cost to get into the different showings. It was like $5, so it's a negligible amount of money.
But making it economical.
Right.
Well, actually, that's one of the criteria. You don't want 100% fund anything. People have to have, as we say, a little skin in the game. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that can be in kind or it can be
that's
actual
true.
budgeting too. So there are 2 ways to kind of look at that. That it doesn't have to be straight cash.
All right. Anything else that we want to know?
Can I just say that picture that you saw with the movie there, that is actually Movies by the River.
Oh,
Movies by the River. Okay,
Yeah.
let's hear about Movies by the River.
I love this. I love this Movies by the River by Creative Haverhill. They're actually in their 2nd year. They're outdoor summer movie series, Thursday nights in the evenings. Movies by the Rivers, I believe, is free.
Yes, it is.
Thanks to some rain, I think we've had 2 not by the river. Is that right?
If it rains, they say that it will be held at the Citizens
until
Center.
Malcolm Street.
And then all the movies are PG or G rated. So it's really kind of nice
fun for the whole
families.
family. All right,
There they are.
Here we are.
That's
Okay.
Movies by the River there. I do not know whether they're singing by the
All right. Well, no. If it's there, then
We're
our
testing
audience
them.
is seeing
We're
it. We're
testing
not
them.
always sure what we're seeing over here. This is aimed at
Guess what you meant.
the audience. In an ideal world, we'd have some other monitors here so we could see things. We could see what he sees, but that's all right.
in real time. But they've been getting up to, I think that event was for ET, and I think they had up to 200 people at one of the Movies by the River events. So it was a great family
Good
outing.
turnout.
All right. Why don't we let's look at Well, some of this we've covered, but some past and future events. So we've heard. What are some others, perhaps, that you could share with us, Robin?
Well, actually, we have supported programs at the Buttonwoods museums, field trips, and so forth. But
I have an idea. Let's put Letriah to work. Chris has all the photographs over there. So how about you tell Chris which ones should be showing while we're talking about them? So, all right, go on with that.
Yeah, some other interesting things that have taken place. Well, for one thing, I think this is very interesting. The shoe celebration, the shoes and boots around the city with Team Haverhill history. People are always asking me, what do the shoes and the boots stand for?
Well, there we are.
There we go. Perfect timing. Perfect.
Well, that's because Letriah is in there running the show.
Perfect, Letriah. Thank you.
It's a teamwork.
But what I think is really interesting about this is that Haverhill has 200 to 300 year history making shoes. From 1646, when shoemaker Andrew Greeley moved to Haverhill, he traveled to the area farms and cobbled shoes from available hides before shoe sizes existed. And then by the 13th century, 1/10 of the shoes produced in America were made in Haverhill. And by 1914, Haverhill had 126 companies devoted to manufacturing shoes and boots. Over 25 million pairs of shoes were being produced. And another thing about the heartbeat of Haverhill, found an article that Stuart Wiseman, the shoe designer to the Stars, took over their late father's Haverhill shoe factory here.
That's right,
in 1965.
The Queen Slipper City sometimes.
Exactly.
Right.
The Queen Slipper City. And actually quite a bit of history, and it's so nice to see them. Now, there were two sets of shoe sculptures. So the original set, and now they have the benches. Is that right?
The boot was first, and then we have the benches. And those benches are actually crafted after a shoe that is at Buttonwoods Museum.
Isn't that wonderful? That's right. Any other highlights you'd like to point out? No pressure.
We could talk about the Gateway murals.
Murals, that's fabulous.
With
Any
Team
Gateway murals over
Haverhill
there?
history.
There is.
What I think is really interesting about that is it takes place it's called the Essex Street Gateway mural, Hues of the Heart, and it's found on 25 Essex Street on the brick side of the building. What I think is really interesting about that is that the mural is to be reflected of the new face of Haverhill. And the concept for the mural came from the location itself. What that mural is was the site of the Orpheum Theater owned by Louis B. Mayer in 1907. The idea was to illustrate inside a movie theater as setting for people's Haverhill's past, present, and future.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, it's funny. I don't know. I go back too many years sometimes, but the building was still standing until 1981, 82. Believe it or not, that was not part of urban renewal, but it was rather dilapidated, and it was taken down to expand or to help create the elderly housing at 25 Washington Square. So that was a good project, and it's good to have that kind of history. Why don't we also then discuss? Why is Haverhill Cultural Council important to Haverhill? I think you've made it very clear why it is, but why don't we a bullet point or two?
Sure. I think Alison did a great job. If I were to define why I feel the Haverhill Cultural Council is important to Haverhill, I personally feel our slogan, we enrich Haverhill by giving one grant at a time. And through tourism, through art events, we bring tourism, and through the interpretive sciences and history, and bringing visitors to Haverhill's community of all ages. And not only does it unite a community together, but it creates vitalizing economics to Haverhill's businesses. it brings more revenue to the businesses, and it also attracts new businesses.
Well, that makes perfect
to
sense.
open.
Someone comes here for a special event, they're going to stop, have a bite to eat at one of our local restaurants, or a beverage of their choice downtown, whether it's coffee or something stronger.
Or a frap?
That's right. And so, no, actually, there's a well-known component that leverages cultural investments, which is why our Commonwealth is supportive of these efforts.
There's some statistics that I read about that said for every dollar invested in the arts, you get a return of $7. Now, I have read that many times, but right now, as I'm pulling it off the top of my head, I don't have any idea where that source is. Do you know?
Actually, I've heard that too, and I thought maybe Mass Development, at least Mass Development has cited it, which is a quasi-public state agency that actually funds many. There's some actually programs from Massachusetts Cultural Council that's not handled by Haverhill, but it's the same funding source, where there are cultural facilities grants, and I believe the Cogswell School is either receiving or seeking.
Seeking.
Okay, seeking. To convert the Cogswell School. Okay. Well, you know what, Chris? I'm going to delay the break a bit because I want to work in a few more things, so I'm going to make our guests stay late. But you didn't do anything wrong. It's like staying after
Put
school.
us on the hot seat here. Some longer time.
That's right. Well, you know, the top of the hour one is rather important because we have to do a legal ID of our station. But the bottom of the hour, I get to stray without too much consequence.
Stray away.
But what is the grant application process like? I mean, it's certainly not a 200-page quiz, right?
No, you know, grants have this sense about them. People always think it's very hard and complicated. It's a fairly straightforward process. There are questions, you give answers, you establish a budget for your project, you determine how you think it will support the community, how many people you will serve through your project, and by doing all of that, it helps us to identify who we should support. And one thing for everyone to remember, I think, this is important, is we want to give you money. So it's not a cruel, it's not a really difficult process to get this done. You've done it.
That's right. No.
And what did you think? It's fairly simple.
No, you know what I like about the process, and I'll believe it or not, some people may be surprised with this, but just answering a couple of questions that are there also helps the applicant focus. Like, what is the best way to reach people? And there's little things that you can add to your budget. It's optional, I believe, like promotion. How are you going to get the word out? And perhaps your promotion includes brochures or a mailer or some posters, and those are also things that are reimbursable through the program.
Well, you'll see how it all works. You make your expensive and you turn in your receipts, and then we refund the amount of the receipts that fall within the amount that we've granted to you. So it's
actually not a complicated. I think was it 2 pages generally, or something like that.
Right.
Now there's some special rules for school field trips. I mean, that's also covered.
And that is covered, but the field trips, it's all going to be one application this year. We're not going to divide the field trips from the general applications, so you'll see it'll be streamlined a little bit there too. And it's just a matter of, you do have to promote your event, and that is a real important thing. And you often tell on air that you're supported in part by the Haverhill Cultural Council for this room, and that's what we expect of people. Tell everybody else about it. We want to have as many applications as possible.
That's right, and we have the logo on several pages so that people see them. Now, that's another. Now, I don't know what happened with the overrides of the governor's budget, and I don't want to go into politics, but there was a cut to some funds, but we don't know yet if that's any impact yet on.
Right, we're still waiting to see that. It's one of those things. We just really want to make sure that everyone understands how important arts are to the community, and that will help with the funding.
Now, how does someone, well, actually, before I ask this question, how does someone find the Haverhill Cultural Council on the web? Because, especially when online applications come in September.
If you Google Haverhill Cultural Council, we have a page on the city website. I have found sometimes that has not worked as well as it should.
Well, I think the state page that you have works better.
I
And
typically send
that
people.
address.
That is part of our projects for the year to try and get that to work a little more seamlessly. But the state page by Mass Cultural Council, then you get to go from there and select the town that you're in. And
The nice thing about that is you can also see past grant recipients.
Right.
And you can get to see the application. And if there's any rules that are required for the type of thing you're looking at, those are right there as well.
They are, and you can always ask questions. And this year, because we are changing to an online application, the Mass Cultural Council will be there to help support you go through that process.
Now, will paper applications still be accepted?
No, we're going big time. We're going to go right straight for the make it easy for everybody.
All right, so folks, some of you who may be less comfortable, Haverhill Public Library does free classes on computer.
And we'll be available.
Right.
And you'll be able to do that. Now, I would think that most people are computer savvy, and a lot of art that's generated today is computer-generated art.
Right.
Including our little banner on the bottom of our screen. So, all right, how does someone get involved with the Cultural Council?
How'd you get involved?
Well, actually, writing a letter to the mayor, showing some interest, and of course, that applicant would be involved in the arts and have passion about the arts or the business sector. Always encouraging people. You must be a resident of Haverhill as well.
Let me ask you this, though. I imagine there are some people who may not want to serve on a formal board, but would be willing to help, hand out the ice cream cones or refill the glasses.
Advisory.
Is there something like that formally available, or do they just find an artist to hook up with and do to help out?
That sort of information, if you were to contact the Haverhill Cultural Council, and we are at 10 Welcome Street in Haverhill, and our phone number is, can I say that?
Yes, absolutely.
978-374-4500, extension 31.
Good number, 978.
374-4500, extension 31. And we'll gladly talk to you about volunteering time and energies to our...
Because I imagine that with almost everything, and I'll admit, here's my selfish call, WHAV is a nonprofit organization, and we rely on volunteers as well. That's why there are community spotlights all the time, and that's why we're still on the air. So, so Chris is a volunteer. We actually joke, Chris is the man with 5 radio jobs, most of them unpaid. But
he's got a passion.
He actually does get paid at some radio stations. I'll let him decide how much I tell.
One point I do want to make is that you are appointed by the mayor to serve on the Cultural Council.
All right. So, but that makes sense. So the mayor fills in our form of government, the mayor fills these seats, and but there are also a limit to how many terms one can serve. Is that right? So there's always, if it's not this year, you might have a shot next year.
Right, and we're not at capacity with our members at this point. So, hey, if you're interested, come on down. We're looking for people of all ages, and I think that's real important. The young is great, old is great, in the middle is fabulous.
Is there any particular photographs you wanted to share with our television viewers that we didn't get to? Because we'll...
Let's ask Letriah.
Letriah is going to pick the photo.
Event that she will be.
All right, so our radio viewers will try to describe whatever it is we show, which may already be up, but we can't see it yet in the studio. So... but let's go through this. So just simply Google Haverhill Cultural Council. There'll be a number of ways to find you. You also have a very active Facebook page, is that right?
Yes, we do.
And you help promote some of the artists every day.
Right. Whenever we have events, we like to throw them out there and say, hey, this is what you should be seeing this weekend. We had a lot with the Experimental Film Festival last weekend. That was a great take, by the way. I was very surprised. I didn't know what to expect, and it was the first time I was able to go, and it was fascinating.
Well, some of the good things. Now, was this something the cultural? I don't want to put you on the spot while we're looking to see what else there might be. But there's been some what do we call it? Public art events. The painting of spoons and forks on some of the sidewalks downtown or crosswalks. Is that a...
That's not us. I believe that's Creative Haverhill or Team
Creative
Haverhill.
Haverhill.
There's a lot of Haverhill stuff, so it's great to see how many people are passionate about the city.
But ultimately, all of those groups end up before the Haverhill Cultural Council.
A lot of them do.
All right. So are we good on those? All right. I didn't hear that. So. But
Well, the Rockout, Steve Lang's Rockout Cookout is coming up, and that is at Winnikinny Castle on August 20th, if I recall correctly.
And actually, that's a good group to support because it also supports others.
It does. In fact, they were at the Kids Art Fest. They have a stage there, and they promote different musicians and they're young people that are really coming up in the world. And we hear that Letriah is going to be performing at the Rockout Cookout this year.
That's right, Haverhill. I'm going to be there for the first time performing some originals as well as some covers with the Honorable Liz Bills, who is one of my college classmates and peers and dear friend. She's going to be performing with me probably one of my newest originals called Haverhill's Anthem, which is an original I wrote specifically for Haverhill, and it's also a little bit of patriotism in there, just talking about being free from the turmoil and the heroin issues that we've experienced in our community. It's just a great way to bring everybody together and celebrate overcoming those obstacles that we faced. I also wanted to once again present the collage photo just as a reminder that the Haverhill Cultural Council represents every part of Haverhill, the young, the old, those who are artistic in the humanities, the sciences, all of those things are important. And I just want to bring up the fact that when when I first got involved with the Haverhill Cultural Council, part of that was singing at the mayor's Christmas party. The mayor heard me sing at his Christmas party, and then he invited me to be part of the Cultural Council. But beyond just that wonderful instance was you just get yourself out there, you volunteer, you serve your community, and when the mayor takes notice, he will put you in a place that he feels that you would thrive the best at. And he, told me, hey, I've got a group for you to get involved with, and I did. And after a short amount of time, I became the chair, and it was all very sudden, but very exciting, because any chance to serve your community is worth the while. So that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much, and I think we have a radio show for you coming. What a wonderful job. Chris, you have competition in Master Control. All right, thank you very much, Letriah.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Thank you, and really, thank you so much, Robin and Alison. This was a real treat, and I want to extend, as always, a special loyalty WHAV has for the Haverhill Cultural Council, as well as the larger community. But I'd like to see both of you or anyone you designate at any time.
Thank you.
Seriously. We can always squeeze in. We even have, if we have guest spots filled, we can always squeeze in, because I think Haverhill is a happening place. And it's amazing how many good things are happening. And if you look at the list, you'll find out that most of those good things are happening. The Haverhill Cultural Council plays a role in it.
It's wonderful to hear you say that, and that you recognize that, and we can share that message with your listeners.
No, anytime. And again, if you have a question for the Cultural Council, the Haverhill Cultural Council, the number is
978-374-4500, extension 31.
All right, that's real easy. And then otherwise, we'll keep that information on hand. If any of you didn't have a pencil, or maybe you're driving down the highway and you're listening to us on your Bluetooth, we'll get that information for you. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you, Tim. This was a pleasure.
Thank you, Letriah, for standing by in Master Control, helping out with the picking of the photographs, and helping with the announcing chores. We have a job for you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
We are very late for weather, so we're going to go to weather, unless Chris has already pulled that from the schedule. We're going to go to weather, and then why don't we combine that with a movie review from our friends at Take Two Movie Review, and we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show after that.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:49.
WHAV will soon be on FM radio. but only with your help. Help make waves and bring local news to FM by donating at WHAV.net. Just look for the photograph of Tom Bergeron, honorary chairperson.
Every Saturday, CBS Radio presents Gunsmoke, set in the pioneer days of Dodge City. The adventures you follow on Gunsmoke center around the United States Marshal Matt Dillon. The Marshal is responsible for keeping the peace among the oddly assorted characters who've drifted to the West to make new lives for themselves. When one of them tries to achieve that goal at the expense of somebody else's life, the shooting starts on Gunsmoke. But as soon as a trigger clicks, you can count on Marshal Dillon to get right into the fray. His aim for law and order is as true as his aim with a gun. If you like action, you'll like Matt Dillon's behavior in every episode of Gunsmoke. Balcony fan from way back or fifth row center steady. You'll find your favorite seats reserved for you for Gunsmoke.
Saturday night at 10 p.m. with an encore performance at 1 a.m.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. This week, Our Kind of Movie. It's rumored that Stanley Kubrick once told Jean Le Carré that he couldn't do justice to Le Carré's novels in 2-hour films because of their detail and complexity of plot and character. That hasn't stopped many from trying, however, sometimes with success. Fortunately, that is the case with the latest, Our Kind of Traitor, a sophisticated tale of intrigue in which an English couple vacationing in Morocco, Perry and Gale, played by Ewan McGregor and Naomi Harris, get caught up in the machinations of an affable but charismatic Russian mafia figure looking to save his family as he's being muscled out. Perry is befriended by the mobster, Dima, Stellan Skarsgård, and asked to deliver a thumb drive to British authorities with information he believes will buy his family's asylum. While Perry's contact and eventual handler from MI6, played by Damian Lewis, is ready to play ball, there's hesitancy from his superiors at the political level. In case you forget by this point that you're watching a Le Carré story, this is, of course, where things get interesting. While some bullets fly and one important thing does blow up, the story moves more cerebral at this point into the minutiae of the nexus of international high finance and top-flight organized crime. The film has the character of a classic mob movie, the feel of an international espionage thriller, and a message about global capitalism. Veteran British TV director Susanna White gets a superior performance from Skarsgård, who really owns his role. McGregor seems a bit out of place, but that may be intentional. Filmed from Switzerland to North Africa, Our Kind of Traitor has an elegant look to it, which distracts from its sometimes near brushes with cliché. It's not The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, but it's pretty good. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. Catch up with us at take2moviereview.com and feed us back on our page on YouTube.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with wave weather. Any scattered showers or locally heavy thunderstorms ending through the evening and night. It'll become partly cloudy, low temperatures 60s to near 70. Mostly sunny skies, just moderately humid on Tuesday. Lower 90s, fair at night, upper 60s to near 70 again. And sunshine, 80s to low 90s on Wednesday. This is Gary Best. Your next wave weather is coming up in 30 minutes.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
What a treat that was to have in the studio. We had Alison, Colby-Campbell, and Robin Valentino in studio, and then we had the chairperson of the Haverhill Cultural Council, Letriah Masters, in master control. What a treat that was. All right, folks, we're going to catch up. About 15, 20 minutes from now, we're going to be giving away, or at least announcing the winner of the Albee D's second-generation Italian bakery birthday or anniversary cake contest. Now, I hope by now, after all this time, that Albee D's has sponsored this contest. You know where they are. They're at 140 South Main Street in Bradford, and they generously provide each month to a lucky WHAV listener or recipient of a birthday or anniversary wish a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, and really absolutely fresh, delightful. And so you too, or someone you nominate, could win the cake this month. So all you have to do is call this program, 978-374-1900. Wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary. We'll draw the winner about 8:15, 8:20 right here on WHAV's Open Mic Show. All right, now I know Chris is taking some calls right now. If you're trying to reach, just be patient and just keep trying, because we want to hear from you on the Open Mic Show. All right, for those who may have missed it at the beginning, we have a trivia question also from our friends at Kimball Tavern Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets by Bradford Common, right here in Bradford. And if you answer this question correctly, or be the first person to answer this question correctly, you can have a free $10 gift certificate to Kimball Tavern Antiques. Now, that's not like towards something. It could be, but if it's $10 or less, it's absolutely free. You want something larger, then it's money toward that. So you take advantage of that from our friends at Kimball Tavern Antiques, from the Wood family. Wonderful, wonderful people, very supportive of WHAV and the Open Mic Show. Here's the question. Answer this question. Who operated the stamp shop inside Boris Migliori's bike shop downtown? Who ran the stamp shop inside of H.R. Sawyer Swin Bicyclery? Name that person, and you could win the $10 gift certificate to Kimball Tavern Antiques. All right, also, trivia question in our What Do You Know contest. You could receive a free pass to John Greenleaf Whittier Birthplace in Haverhill, as well as the Whittier Home Museum in Amesbury, where Whittier moved in 1836. And all you have to do is answer this question. When did John Greenleaf Whittier first attend Haverhill Academy? When did he first go to school, basically, there? And what group uses that building today? It's still there. So when did John Greenleaf Whittier first attend Haverhill Academy? What group uses that building today? And you could receive a free pass. Matter of fact, if I'll double that offer, 2 free passes, so you can bring someone with you absolutely free to both Whittier Birthplace and Whittier Home Museum, and you'll learn more about the poet, the great Haverhill poet, who was a textbook, what's the word, I guess, staple, every textbook. And I think that those of you who have your high school and college literature textbooks, even if for some reason Whittier wasn't covered, look in the index, you'll find him. Very, very popular poet. He wrote the famous poem Snowbound, which describes him in Haverhill during a major snowstorm more than 100 years ago. You might find that fascinating. All right, so there's all of our contests. Okay, Chris has been tied up on the phone. If you've been trying to reach the Open Mic Show, you might want to try after the news, 978-374-1900. 978-374-1900. We got about a minute to the top of the hour. Is there a call for me? Jerry. All right. Okay, we have a very, 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 very short amount of time available for news. Jerry, is that you?
Yes, it is.
All right. You're certainly welcome to call back after the news if we don't get to it all. But what's on your mind, Jerry?
I will. I just wanted to, say that I put my son's birthday in the Chinese cowboy hat.
Oh, okay. So he knows the Chinese cowboy hat story, Jack Bevilacqua's term. Okay, so it's your son's birthday. What's his name?
His name is Michael.
It's Michael's birthday. Do you know what date? I imagine you do.
August 11th. Yes, I certainly do.
August the 11th. Okay, so the name is in the hat. About 15-20 minutes, we're going to do the drawing for the August birthday and anniversary cake contest.
I had something to say, but it's too late now, right? I just wanted to commend Mayor Fiorini for how he acted on the trucking in two neighborhoods. I wish our administration in Methuen would do likewise.
Okay, so there's kudos for Mayor Fiorentini for handling a trucking issue.
Fiorentini for taking the action he did on the traffic issue, the heavy trucks.
All right, that's right.
He almost you could more or less say that I feel your pain, and he took action. Really,
that's right. You've been dealing with some heavy truck traffic in Methuen, haven't you?
Yeah. So coming out of Brox's what do you call it? Access road. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, Jerry, I'm sure the mayor appreciates the kudos.
Oh, I like Fiorino. I really like him. I've never met him personally, although on your program he said he'd like to meet me sometime. I like him. Really, I like him an awful lot.
We'll try to work that out. But I bet he wants you to. Move to Haverhill.
I wish I could. I wish I could. Really. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's a plug for the mayor of Haverhill, Mayor James J. Fiorentini, from a fan in Methuen.
I hope he's in office in perpetuity.
Well, he's come closer than anyone else.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday to Michael.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care. All right, we're going to go to news with WHAV News Director Dana Esmold, national news, local weather. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show. If you're hanging on the line, please hold on, or you can call right back. We've got about 5 minutes, and we'll be back.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:02.
WHAV LP Haverhill. WHAV is a nonprofit community service of Public Media of New England, Incorporated.
Here's what's happening in local news. 2 Haverhill men face drug-related charges as a result of their arrest by Haverhill police early Saturday. Joshua Melendez, 28, of 62 Portland Street, Haverhill, and Michael Chavez, 27, of 86 Bellevue Avenue, Haverhill, were arrested at about 3:58 a.m. Saturday at 146 White Street. Melendez was charged with drug possession with intent to distribute. Chavez was charged with possession of classes B and E drugs, driving under the influence of liquor, and alcohol from an open container. Both are due to be arraigned in Haverhill District Court. In other police news, a Haverhill man is due in court after being arrested Saturday night on charges including drugged driving. John Cuoco, 40, of 197 East Broadway, Haverhill, was arrested at 11:56 p.m. Saturday at 106 Bank Road. He was charged with driving under the influence of drugs and possession of a Class A drug. A 60-year-old man convicted more than 2 decades ago of raping a Haverhill child is in custody after failing to register as a sex offender. Reggie C. Ellenwood was arrested Friday night at Boston's Pine Street Inn, a homeless shelter, after Massachusetts State Police added him earlier that day to its, quote, most wanted sex offenders list. Ellenwood was convicted in 1992 in Essex County Superior Court of 8 counts of rape of a child and 6 counts of indecent assault and battery involving 2 preteen girls in Haverhill. An investigation at the time revealed Ellenwood kept his victims from talking by claiming to have murdered another young girl he assaulted, state police said. He also has been previously convicted in Haverhill District Court on assault with a dangerous weapon, a rifle, and 2 counts of accosting. Ellenwood also has ties to Lawrence, Lynn, and Boston. State Police Violent Fugitive Apprehension Section had listed Ellen Wood and 5 others on its most wanted list Friday and asked for the public's help in finding the fugitives. Former Haverhill City Council Vice President Robert H. Scatamaccia, jailed last week after being convicted of stealing funeral prepayment money, claims he was improperly fired from his position as school transportation chief and wants back pay. Back in March 2015, Haverhill Public Schools Superintendent James F. Scully reported Scatamaccia's, quote, resignation from the $60,000 position of school transportation supervisor. WHAV News has learned Scatamaccia was actually fired from the union-protected job he accepted only 4 months earlier. Quote, it's a personnel matter and I cannot discuss it, Mayor James J. Fiorentini, who is also chairman of the Haverhill School Committee, told WHAV late last week. He did say, however, Scatamaccia also served as a, quote, active member of the Hunking School Building Committee and will be replaced, quote, very quickly, end quote. Scatamaccia, now 66, was selected for the school position from a field of 6 applicants during November 2014. The job vacancy was created by the passing of longtime transportation supervisor Kevin Eldridge. Scatamaccia chose to forego his salary as City Council Vice President while working for the school district. More in-depth coverage can be found at whav.net. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmel.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Harry Horton. At least 19 people are dead and dozens more injured after a knife attack at a facility for disabled people just outside of Tokyo in Japan. The attack began in the early hours of Tuesday morning local time. A man in his 20s was later arrested after turning himself in at a local police station. The so-called Islamic State has claimed responsibility for a suicide bomb attack in the town of Ansbach, Germany, that injured at least 15 people. It's the second time in a week the group has claimed an attack in the country. Ira Spitzer reports from Berlin.
ISIS released the statement through the Amak news agency, which is closely affiliated with the group. It came after German officials discovered extremist videos on the attacker's cell phone and computer, as well as a pledge of allegiance to the ISIS leader. The attacker was a 27-year-old refugee from Syria who faced deportation to Bulgaria. He had tried to kill himself at least 2 times and had received psychological treatment. After being denied entry to a music festival, he blew himself up outside the venue, wounding 15 people, 3 of them seriously. Ira Spitzer, Berlin.
In the United States, uproar has broken out on the floor of the Democratic Convention in Philadelphia, where supporters of Bernie Sanders are booing every single mention of Hillary Clinton's name. The convention got underway just 24 hours after a huge leak of Democratic Party emails. They showed that party leaders had worked behind the scenes to engineer Senator Sanders' defeat in the primary elections earlier this year. Our US correspondent Simon Marks is at the convention in Philadelphia.
There is the real possibility now that this convention is spinning out of control of Hillary Clinton and her campaign managers. Every time her name is invoked on the podium by a speaker, Bernie Sanders supporters erupt with boos and chants of his name, not hers. The next few hours are going to prove to be a real test of whether Bernie Sanders can control his supporters and persuade them to be as magnanimous as he has been in endorsing Hillary Clinton for the presidency. Everything that we've seen on the floor of this convention so far suggests that they won't be.
Earlier in the day, Senator Sanders told his supporters the resignation of Debbie Wasserman Schultz as the head of the DNC meant that there was possibility for real change within the party.
Her resignation opens up the possibility of new leadership at the top of the Democratic Party that will stand with working people and that will open the doors of the party to those people who want real change.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with wave weather. Any scattered showers or locally heavy thunderstorms ending through the evening and night. It'll become partly cloudy, low temperatures 60s to near 70. Mostly sunny skies, just moderately humid on Tuesday. Lower 90s, fair at night, upper 60s to near 70 again, and sunshine 80s to low 90s on Wednesday. This is Gary Best. Your next wave weather is coming up in 30 minutes.
This is Pacifica Radio for the Merrimack Valley, WHAV. This is Pacifica Radio for the Merrimack Valley, WHAV LP Haverhill, listener-supported community radio.
Catch the wave, WHAV, Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco at whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show. I'm your host, Tim Coco. Chris Porter is producing, as always, in master control. I apologize to some of the callers that were trying to get through with the birthday wish, and then we went into a news break. So we're going to hold up the birthday winner of a couple minutes, 10 minutes at most. So if you want to call in, you want to wish someone a happy birthday who's celebrating in August, or a couple that's celebrating their anniversary, then call 978-374-1900. Now, with all the things that were going on in here, I overlooked David Goudswood doing all this work as usual as Open Mic Show historian. And here's a couple of things. The source of the $7 for every $1 that's spent on the arts is credited to Americans for the Arts, issued a national report on arts and economic property. I believe I have that right. The print is kind of small, and I'm getting old even with new glasses. And then I didn't know David was going to try to answer this one. It was more of a rhetorical question, but I wondered why we don't have North and South House Street because it's divided by Bailey Boulevard. And David Goudswood said, well, actually, there is no South Howe in Bradford, so that name is available. However, Howe Street from Methuen ultimately connects with West Lowell Avenue in Haverhill. So 600 feet of Howe Street in Methuen over the line is technically called Methuen Road. So we know a little bit more about that. Could be confusing. Someone typing in Howe Street on their GPS and then end up in the wrong town. So maybe there are reasons why we haven't named them. Howe in Methuen is spelled Howe. Howe in Haverhill is just HOW. Like, how did it get that name? So thank you very much, David Goudswood, WHAV, an Open Mic Show historian. I'm going to do a little teaser right now, and I'm hoping those of you who are trying to get a birthday call in, call again, 978-374-1900. But as many of you know, especially if you're a member of WHAV, you receive in your email WHAV's Wavelengths newsletter. Now, there's a daily version that has all these headlines. Every day, WHAV News has exclusive news stories by and about Haverhill that you might find. But also, once a month, there's the Wavelengths Extra. And David Goudswood is a frequent contributor with some of these interesting facts, and he has, in an upcoming issue of Wavelengths, information about Haverhill, not just Haverhill, Massachusetts, but Haverhill, England, and actually even a little further down the road to learn more about other Haverhills across the United States and somewhat across the globe. So we're all looking forward to reading that article by David Goudswood. And you can become a WHAV member now more than ever. It's important. $25 for a annual membership. If you're a student or senior, $10. If you want to be more generous, there is the Leadership Circle and even the Edwin V. Johnson Society, named for Edwin V. Johnson, legendary WHAV newscaster, and of course, a longtime English department head at Haverhill High School. And of course, most of us just know him as he was our public speaking teacher at Haverhill High School. So If you would like to join WHAV, go to WHAV.net on your computer or smartphone. Click on the membership tab. If you would rather not deal with that computer, Chris will take your credit card or debit card right over the phone. Call 978-374-1900. All right, I'll tell you what, we're going to give people a chance to call. So we're going to take a brief break right now for Community Spotlight. Get your fingers on your dials, 978-374-1900. A few minutes, we will name the August winner of the Albee Second Generation Italian Bakery Cake Contest. We'll be right back.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
WHAV is on Facebook. For quick access, visit whav.net and click on the Facebook icon.
Catch the wave.
Those political sound bites you hear on the news are, at best, incomplete and could be misleading or even outright lies. This is David Pakman. Take time to delve into the truth by listening to The David Pakman Show, Tuesday through Friday nights at 8 on WHAV. Lack of logic and reason are exposed on The David Pakman Show as newsmakers collapse under cross-examination. Remember, only local radio can bring you this talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight.
Health, fitness, nutrition, living green, and financial and emotional wellness highlight the Greater Haverhill Chamber of Commerce's second annual Healthy Living Expo. Healthy Living Expo takes place Saturday, August 13th from 10 to 2 at the Herbert H. Goki Jr. Memorial Parking Deck between Merrimack Street and Bailey Boulevard. There is a rain date of Saturday, August 20th. Additional vendor booth space and sponsorships are still available. For more information, call the Chamber office at 978-373-5663 or email info@haverhillchamber.com. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, this is Diane Carr.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Okay, 3 more minutes to call in your birthday or anniversary wishes for someone or a couple, and we'll name the Albee Second Generation Italian Bakery Cake Contest winner. So 978-374-1900. Let's hurry. I know a couple of you missed because we went into a news break, but feel free to try that again. 978-374-1900. I think there's one coming in now. Let me ask you, some of you may be switching back and forth, watching television, listening, or viewing the Democratic National Convention. I understand from one of our listeners, Teddy, it's been kind of a bad show so far. We have Bernie Sanders supporters booing, but we also had over the weekend WikiLeaks released information from the Democratic National Committee showing some foul play against Bernie by the Democratic National Committee. So maybe you have a thought on that too. Let's get a birthday call in before I lose this one. You are on the Open Mic Show. You have a birthday wish to call in? Okay, are you listening? Listen to your phone rather than...
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, Tim.
Hi there. So you've been trying to get in. So you have a birthday or anniversary wish for someone?
Yeah, I have an anniversary, Ronnie. That's end of August.
Okay, so Ronnie, birthday end of August. Well, thank you. You just got it in under the wire. Sorry that we kept you holding. All right, so we'll announce that in a couple
and I
minutes.
got an anniversary.
Oh, you have another one. Okay.
Anniversary, Ronnie.
Okay, let me get this. It's Ronnie's anniversary or birthday or both?
It's anniversary, the first time.
Oh, okay.
And birthday for Mike, and that's in August.
Okay. Ronnie's anniversary, Mike's birthday.
Yes.
Both in August. Okay, so Chris has that information. Is that
Okay,
right?
thank you.
All right, so we're gonna draw the winner in about a minute. Okay.
Okay. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you very much for participating in the Albee D's second generation Italian bake contest. All right, so Chris, why don't you bring me the hat, and then we'll draw the winner. Okay, so I want to next week, of course, we'll start taking, and this is scary. We'll start taking September birthdays and anniversaries. So we'll take and take a look at that. Okay, so we have the hat, quite a few entries this month. Okay, the big question on Brian's mind is whether his winning streak will return. Let's find out. Okay, everybody, picking at random. Let's see who won. It is Pat's birthday. And actually, I guess I didn't know. I know this person, and I'm really very pleased. When this was called in, and I don't remember who called in this one, but I did not know the person's last name, but I do know Pat, and Pat has won the Albee D's second generation Italian bakery cake contest. Pat will be receiving in the mail a letter. All she has to do is order the cake fresh from Albee D's, choose between chocolate and vanilla, and then come down and pick it up at 140 South Main Street. Happy birthday, Pat. This is wonderful. All right. Chris, do you remember who called that one in? Is that one of Brian's? I don't recall. We've been taking them all month, so that's wonderful news. Happy birthday, Pat. All right, we have a few minutes. I want to discuss the progress of the new WHAV FM. Now, I'm going to give you the digest and the version, and if there's time, we'll go into some of the details. As many of you know, the new WHAV carries on the history, the tradition, and the legacy of the original WHAV that dates back to 1947. Right here in Haverhill, many of you grew up with WHAV. You listened to Ralph Hall, No School, All Schools, Haverhill perhaps, or maybe you heard Tom Bergeron coming on the air at 6 a.m. at WHAV, and you heard the theme song of Laurel and Hardy, and then you had Ken Spaulding, the announcer, say, well, here's another fine Tom Bergeron show. Maybe you that history and tradition. Well, for more than 12 years, probably 12 and a half years, the new WHAV has been working to get a new FM radio station on the air. Now, the original WHAV was going to be FM in 1947. Jack Russ, the original general manager, he knew FM sounded better, but oddly, the Federal Communications Commission moved the FM to another radio spectrum, and everyone who had receivers, 500,000 of them, could no longer use them. So he in time we'll get FM radios out again, so we'll start an AM station for now. And then he put the FM on the air in 1948, and guess what? There were still too few receivers. People didn't want to trade in their old Philco or their Zenith for a new radio. And so FM just languished. And finally, Jack Russ took the FM off the air in 1952-53. He sold the transmitter to WCRB in Boston, which a lot of people might find interesting. And there was no WHAV FM. Another Nation started later in 1959. Ultimately, that changed directions and moved off. And so there has not been a WHAV on the FM band for 30 some odd years. So here we are. It took us forever to get an application for the FCC, first of all, to allow us to file. You can't just file when you feel like it. Have to wait for them to open what they call a filing window. That finally opened in 2013, and WHAV filed an application, and then there were 3 other applicants. So then a battle of sorts ensued. 2 of them dropped out right away. Another applicant competed with WHAV. The lawyers made out on that deal. Well, I guess if I haven't already told you, listeners, I mean, that cost close to $50,000. And WHAV is a nonprofit in this day and age. And so it has been very difficult to keep paying. And while we're doing all of that, still bringing you the news every day. And longer text versions of it appear at WHAV.net. If you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, Tumblr, or Path, you can also get WHAV news in all of those places, because WHAV doesn't have a paywall. In other words, you're not limited to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 stories and then can't read the site anymore. Because we're a nonprofit, that news is available to you for free. So we certainly do appreciate the support. Now, one other complication happened on the route to FM. We finally had a settlement agreement with the competitor, but it meant that we were going to have to build a new tower on the eastern side where no towers exist and very difficult to place and find the right height and that kind of thing. But then inexplicably, the competing applicant went in another direction, and WHAV was allowed to go home being Silver Hill. And so we took a site visit a couple of weeks ago. There was an unused old entrance there, and behind that door, like a welcome mat, was WHAV inscribed in the floor of the transmitter building on Silver Hill. Quite a treat, a welcome home message. Almost all of the elements, and thank you for putting that up. Almost all of the elements are in place, and now we had to get a lease, and we had to get people to climb that tower 350 feet into the air. It's actually about 100 feet more than the original tower that HAV went on the air with in 1947. And so 350 feet into the air, they're going to be, you're going to see people climbing that tower, installing the antenna, bringing the cabling down 500 feet as it crosses to the transmitter building. The brand new transmitter's on order, brand new antenna is on order, and then there's all this emergency equipment. And this emergency alert equipment is very important to you, because in the case of a national emergency or even a state emergency, like a weather emergency, the governor and other officials can actually interrupt WHAV to bring you directly themselves important safety and emergency information. And that costs penny. So we're still a few dollars short on some of the components. Once all that is, and the money is slowly coming in, you can help. Visit WHAV.net. Any place you see Tom Bergeron's picture, you can click on him, and it'll take you to WHAV's special capital campaign, Make Waves. So here's your chance. But WHAV's going home. Many of the elements are now in place after all these years, and just could be very soon that you'll be hearing WHAV not only in Haverhill but in all the surrounding towns on your FM radio at 97.9. Now, you've probably heard about digital radio, HD radio, but like in the 1940s, why would you trade in your old car radio for another one or pay more when you're not really sure what you're going to get? So WHAV is not going to use system. Almost no one listens to HD radio, I'm afraid to say. It's a proprietary format. Many people argue the FCC shouldn't have granted it. So we're going to use the original Armstrong system, created by Major Edwin Howard Armstrong, the inventor of FM. That system is compatible with all of your radios in your car, at home, anything capable of receiving FM. And for those of you who are a little more technical, savvy, up to date, you can still use your phones to hear WHAV in stereo on your smartphone or your TuneIn app. I would say that we're probably pretty close to being out of time, but I ask you to support WHAV. Visit WHAV.net, and pretty soon you'll be able to hear WHAV at 97.9. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the radio.
Open mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic show came to you from V. Johnson Newsroom.